everyone, welcome back to Limitless Live. This month, we're exploring something very important, and that is our intellectual life. Not just what we know, but how we actually think. The first 2 weeks of March, we focused on becoming lifelong learners and how to train your brain like a muscle. But today, I want to address something that we maybe even understand more about what intellectual life is and be a lot more powerful, because having knowledge is certainly not enough. Having a strong brain is also not sufficient. What truly separates extraordinary thinkings from average thinkers is their ability to think much deeper. Today, I want to take this deep thinking and explain how this is becoming very rare. We live in a world of spread. We have fast news, fast reactions, fast options, fast opinions, fast scrolling, but wisdom is so slow. Great thinkers and great thinking is actually very slow. The ability to pause, reflect, and analyze has become one of the greatest intellectual advantages of our time. I want to talk about this today. Deep thinking in a shallow world. And the problem really is the information overload that we have. We live in the most informed generation in history. At any moment, you can actually access millions of articles, thousands of podcasts, unlimited opinions. But here is the interesting paradox. People today are surrounded by information, yet so many are struggling with clear thinking. And why is that? It's really because information is not wisdom. Information enters the mind. Wisdom is what happens when the mind processes that information. Most people today consume information the way people eat fast food, very quickly, constant, without actually reflecting. But deep thinkers treat ideas very differently. They pause, they question, and they reflect. They ask, is that true? Is that useful? And what does it actually mean? Because the quality of your life will always be connected to the quality of your thinking. Now let's talk about two different ways people process the world. We have surface thinkers, which are thinkers that react very quickly. They repeat what they hear and they follow trends. They basically adapt opinions without actually examining them. They live in a reaction mode. And when you constantly react, you actually never truly analyze. The other type of people that we have are deep thinkers. Deep thinkers operate much differently. They are those that slow down, they examine any idea, they look at patterns, and they ask questions. They reflect before actually responding. And here's the powerful truth of that. The people who lead the world are rarely the ones that have the loudest voice. Often, leaders are deep thinkers. Think about scientists, inventors, philosophers, any great leader you can think about. These are people who actually train their mind to think beyond the obvious. One of the greatest difference between average thinkers and great thinkers is the questions that they ask. Great thinkers begin with great questions. When you encounter information, try asking yourself 4 very powerful questions. I'm going to give you those questions. When you see some information, the first thing you have to ask, is this fact or is this opinion? Because not everything that sounds convincing is actually a fact. Critical thinkers always look for the evidence, not just what sounds good. The second question I want you to think about is what evidence supports that particular idea? Is there any data that exists? Is it based on research? And what proof that that idea actually possesses? The third question you want to ask yourself, what may be missing from this particular perspective? Every story has multiple perspectives, multiple angles, and deep thinkers search for the bigger picture, not just what you can see on the surface. And the fourth question, what assumption am I making right now? Sometimes our own belief shaped on how we interpret the information, because great thinkers challenge their own assumptions. And when you start asking better questions, you start developing intellectual independence. You are no longer simply absorbing ideas, you're now examining the accuracy of that information you're receiving. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat quietly, without your phone, without music, without any distractions, just simply your thoughts? For many people, this rarely happens anymore. But some of the most successful thinkers in history did something very intentional. They schedule thinking time. They gave their mind the space to process ideas. This is when breakthroughs happen. This is when clarity appears, not in noise, but in quiet reflection. Try this very simple habit. 10 minutes a day. No phone, no distractions, just thinking. Think about your goals. Think about the problem that you're trying to solve. Think about what you are actually learning. At first, you will feel so uncomfortable doing that. But soon after, something amazing will happen. Your brain starts connecting ideas. And it starts connecting ideas clearly. And that begins when you start thinking quietly. Now let's try a very quick exercise. Think about a decision that you are currently facing in life. It could be related to anything: career, family, health, learning, business. And now ask yourself these 3 questions. What do I know about this situation? What do I not know yet? And what assumptions might I be making? Because sometimes asking these simple questions can actually bring incredible clarity, because the brain becomes powerful when it analyzes instead of reacting. And do that simple exercise for anything that you are trying to analyze. Now, there's another simple but very powerful habit. It's called the thinking walk. Take a short walk, 10 or 15 minutes. Leave your phone behind. You don't need music, just walk and think. Many great thinkers actually did this regularly. Einstein loved long walks. Philosophers throughout history used walks as a time of reflection. Movement relaxes the mind. And when the mind is relaxed, creative insights begin to appear. So, in this world that's full of noise, the people who think deeper will always stand out because deep thinkers lead to better decisions, clearer ideas, stronger leadership, and wisdom. Wisdom is something our world desperately needs. So give your mind the gift of space. Slow down your thinking, ask better questions, reflect more deeply. Because when you train your brain, you train your thinking, and that's when you develop something extraordinary, and that's your powerful mind. Next week, I want to talk about something equally exciting: how reading expands the mind and builds intellectual power. And until then, remember this: most people react, but leaders think. And the quality of your thinking always shapes the quality of your life. Thank you for being here today, and I will see you again next week on Limitless Live.